and we really appreciate you joining us today. And we have an exciting session ahead of us. And the session is going to be on innovation, integration, and distribution strategy for 2022. And again, we have with us Nauro Rezende, the Senior Director of Marketing at Mosaic Companies. So welcome again, Nauro, and over to you. And we're really excited about your session and looking forward to it. And again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. We'll talk a little bit about innovation, integration, and distribution strategies for 2022. And my background is on marketing and technology. I've been working on that field for 20 years, and I've been working really on the cross-section or the crossroad where marketing, communication, and technology lives. And that gives me and the team a different perspective of what technology and what innovation and what integration should look like, because we're not only looking through a technical aspect, but we're looking to how can those solutions provide something else that is not the technical efficiency of something, but also how can improve the process, can improve our internal and external communication to clients. So I would like to start by talking about innovation by process. That it's something that I really started to focus on probably a couple of years ago when I was looking to bring some AI solutions to our tech stack. And what that process brought to us is a new look at what can we innovate. And we realized that some innovation, although I mean it may be logical, not all innovations are technology based, and we live in that world and everything is a startup and everything is tech, is an app. But there are some things that are innovation that don't require technology, but require you to rethink process and look at what you have and how you do things from that open-mindedness of how can we do that in a different way that can be better, that can be different, and by having different processes that also open the possibilities to do things that before you thought that were not possible. One thing that helped to set that mindset is that consensus is not always good. And we've been trained to agree with everybody or agree with the dominant idea. And I learned from my directors, my president, and other experiences that if you innovate, if you're thinking different, people will not agree with you. You're going to have to prove that your idea that is unconventional, it's actually a good idea and it's deployable and it's sustainable and it's better than what you have. And sometimes it's not better, but it works and it can be done. And one thing that is very important, we live in a great age of innovation. We learned in school and from life that we had those big innovators. We had Thomas Edison and we have Tesla, and with the Victorian era of innovation, and that thing kind of became same thing of the past. And right now there's so much happening with 3D printing and with nanotechnology and with biohacking and with open source, that anybody can innovate by adding technology to a process, by rethinking a process, by just doing something that it makes sense. And I want to bring the case of Vintra, which is an Indian fashion company that look at the process of delivery, which for distribution is one of the key things and one of the most complicated ones, and decide to employ local tailors to be the last mile deliver person for their clothes. And at the beginning, you think, why you're making that a process that's so much more complicated. But once you start looking at clothes, they have to fit and they have to fit well, and it costs a significant amount of money, especially if you don't have a good logistics infrastructure in the country. And that's not India only. I mean, South America is full of challenges on logistic to send something back, and you cannot sell that product again on the same price. So by having the tailor delivering that dress or that cloth, he's able to serve the customer with knowledge that just a delivery person would not have, and fix and adjust the cloth to the size or to the proper fitting. And that creates a better customer experience. I'm sure it reduces a lot of the returns that they had. And it's innovation by process, and it has nothing to do with technology. So that's one key point from that bullet point. Also, flexibility on distribution. And we live on that key moment where distribution became a little nightmare for a lot of us. And we have to build infrastructure for distribution that is not rigid. You have to create fallbacks, or what happened when something is not working. And at our company, we have a great team on logistics and looking at the distribution process, and the things that are having to do on the fly to be able to find containers, to move merchandise from one port to another port across Europe, just to have the container that is in port A and the merchandise that is in port B meet somewhere and get things shipped. It's tremendous, and I don't think that experience will end. The challenges that we're facing now will end at some point, but if you forget that experience, you are exposing yourself to have to do that, to have to learn that thing again. And one thing that I like to reinforce is what's next. And if you talk Amazon, if you ask anybody what's the next thing that Amazon is going to do to delivery and to distribution, and I'm sure that everybody's going to say, or most people are going to say, drones. Drones are going to deliver everything. And it may not be drones for a lot of reasons. One is legislation, one is really the cost. And you may be in areas where drones are not effective, and now you see on the picture a delivery bike, and there's a lot of urban locations that the delivery bike will make much more sense than anything really heavy technologically invested, because of congestion, air congestion. I mean, you can have cities super close to the airports where your drones cannot fly. So what are you going to do there? So what's next? It's not always the obvious answer. You have to look outside the box, as obvious as this phrase became, but you have to look at other alternatives for flexibility on your distribution. And think local, act global. That is something that is being said a lot for years, and I like that mentality, and I think it applies to distribution and to innovation, because it's really where you see things happening and happening fast on recent years. When you start to serve your community, and I'm using community in a broad term here, because it doesn't need to be your local community as far as geographic. You can have a community of developers or singers or musicians that are distributed in geographically, but it's your local community from that sense. And everybody knows that if you have a problem, somebody else will also have that same problem in another place. So by thinking on how can we solve problems on distribution and innovation from a very narrow point of view, you are actually tapping a market that may not be explored. Innovation don't live alone. There's always somebody else that will need that solution. And I like to just bring a quick case of Stripe. Stripe right now is a $95 billion company plus in valuation. But when they were born, and I had the chance to work with their code right at that time, 2010, 2011, they made a very simple solution for a very complex problem that only affects developers at that time. It was very hard to implement Visa or American Express or payment processes in websites. And they created something that it was easy, it was effective, and it was focused on one community, developers. And now they are, I mean, they are known as the middleman of the World Wide Web, because 90+% of the web transactions touch Stripe at some point. So that's what I have for today. I thank you very much for the time, for the opportunity.